Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Masks Off. I am Kim, and I'm so excited to be here today with a guest speaker. I have Ainee Cha with me today. And you just shared with me a moment ago that it is super cold where you are. So you are in a very different part of the world that I'm in because it's sunny and summertime and it's 80 degrees. And where you are, you said it's very cold. So I love the internet and I love being able to have this platform so that we can connect and learn about you. But before you introduce yourself, I'm just going to start with a quote as I normally do. And the quote is, "True transformation is not one without pain, but one who sees through it." And that is by our one and only guest, Ainee Cha. That's your quote. So profound. And I can't wait to dive more into a conversation with you. But let's start with you just introducing yourself and telling the listeners a little bit about your background.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Kim, for having me. I hope I am loud enough here. You can hear me?
Yes.
Right. So I didn't came to become a mindfulness and compassion teacher. My background, I was a engineering consultant, and I'm originally from Malaysia. And currently I'm living in Dunedin, New Zealand. So it is cold. It's winter at 0 degrees. Yeah, a little bit about where I came from. I think perhaps around 7, 8 years ago, I was going through quite a bit myself, being up high in a ladder and with all the demands, in engineering, everything is urgent, urgent, urgent. And that's a lot of anxiety and stress in me. What happened was what triggered me to actually look inward. It's really my grandmother who took her life. And at the same time, my mother-in-law was diagnosed with cancer. And it was in that short 3 months that I had to be away on a project that's taken me about a few months project. Had to leave my kids with my brother and my sister-in-law. So that was like everything just come. It's like it is just pushing you to just wake up. I think. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that is how I came to deepen my practice in mindfulness and compassion and really use that practice to transform my own relationship with myself. And thereafter, it's like uh, a ripple effect, it helps me my relationship with my husband, my family members, and my children, and how I relate to all my experiences.
So did you have any base or foundation of mindfulness as you were growing up and as a child? Was this always in your life?
Yes, I am a Buddhist. So being a Buddhist, meditation is something that was introduced and prayers. So I did not know that was mindfulness until way later in adult life. But yes, the prayers, the meditation has been part of me as growing up.
So then let's take a look and a step back at your life as the engineer with all that pressure and, all these deadlines, have to get everything done immediately or yesterday. And I'm going to maybe guess and say even perfectly. Did you feel that you had a certain expectation to be perfect? Did you feel this pressure to be perfect? Like, would you say that you wear or wore the perfection mask?
I would say yes, right? I always strive to be perfect in my
Mm,
work. And I think that gives me a lot of pressure because I work in a plant, oil and gas plant, where I serve the oil and gas clients like Shell and Petronas and things, Mobile. I think you know about that. And it is a lot of pressure in such a way that if my calculations or my analysis is not right, casualty could happen, you know. You could
mm,
catch fire and it's highly dangerous plant. It's oil and gas plant. So
mm,
that pressure is really killing me, I would say, you know, and that is pushing me to be perfect. But when I actually work on myself, my own going inward to look inside, I realized that that perfectionist was not just because of work. It was way back when I was younger, being the eldest in the family, having to do the best. Like my mom would tell me, oh, you have to show a good example. You have to do well in this. You have to do this and that. And and because of that, I realized that I have been internalizing those beliefs, those words that I need to be good, I need to perform, I need to show that I'm good enough. And that gives me a lot of pressure. And I didn't realize until maybe 7, 8 years ago when I worked on myself that I had this belief that I was not good enough, that I was
mm.
not worthy of love if I'm not doing well.
Yeah. Oh, I relate to that one so well. I hear what you're saying. And so something that I've been thinking about and just exploring is, and maybe we can tie this into the self-compassion and the forgiveness as well. But something that I'm struggling with is, and I do believe this is tied into being a perfectionist, is being able to love all parts of myself, all parts of myself, and being able to love all parts of others in my life, children, for example. Like, in order to love all parts of ourselves, do we have to let go of having any expectations at all? And how
Uh,
how does one, in your opinion, because you're a coach and you have worked on going inward, you studied a lot about compassion, you've studied your study have studied, and I think you still are, under Tara Brach and Jack Cornfield, who teach a whole lot about compassion and forgiveness and mindfulness. How do we do this? How do we love all parts of ourselves?
well, this is a very broad question, Kim. How do we love ourselves? I can only speak with my own experience. When I started to work on myself, um, I started metta meditation, love and kindness.
Mm,
It's the willingness that I put in to love myself. Like I would say, may I be well, may I be happy, may I be free from suffering, things like that. And I remember those times that I started chanting and I started doing this metta meditation, the words just couldn't come out of my mouth. It was so hard.
I
It was
know.
hard, right? And then I realized that I saw that kind of deep listening to what my soul's telling me that I was not accepting myself. For whatever reason that was. It took me a while, a few good months and years to finally be able to say the word out loud. And I cannot imagine how much tears I have shed those days when I tried to bring that willingness to accept. And I think that practice of compassion, the practice of loving kindness does wonders. It's just profound in a way that you keep trying and you keep doing, and that it gently opens up your heart.
Mm.
And
That's beautiful.
when the heart is open, you realize there's a lot of conditions that you put on yourself, and then you put a lot of conditions on others, right? Because the heart is closed. We have this protective, feel safe kind of mechanism in us that we always want to protect ourselves, but not realizing to protect ourselves, we actually close our heart.
Mm.
We say stop love, we stop letting love in and stop letting love out.
It's so true. And I have felt that. I know what you're saying. So let me ask you this. Let's say, for example, that, well, first of all, so especially if one is a recovering perfectionist and has lived a lifetime or a long time of putting this pressure on oneself in order to be perfect, and then this feeling of I'm not enough, right? I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. So, and we're saying the antidote is compassion and loving kindness, and we're saying forgiveness. But I'm wondering, it doesn't mean that that part of us that can feel not good enough, or that part of us that can put pressure on ourselves or on others, doesn't go away completely. Right? Like, so in other words, I've come a long way in my journey in terms of being able to have more compassion toward myself and forgiving myself, especially around being a mom, because one of my really big shame triggers or areas of guilt is around not being the perfect mom. And so I've had to bring a lot of grace and a lot of compassion and a lot of forgiveness and love toward myself. And I've come a long, long way. And I've also changed my behavior a lot since my kids were little. And there are still times when old patterns show up and I still act unconsciously. I act in a way that I would wish that I hadn't, right? So that's the part I mean. It doesn't go away completely. And then maybe initially, the tendency is to want to go and beat myself up. But where we can stop further harm, like stop the second arrow, is by then pausing and then bringing compassion. Would you say that that's how it works for you? It's more of a process rather than like all of a sudden now you're no longer having those feelings of less than?
No, of course, darling. It's a journey, it's a process. And the journey, I feel that is in the practice itself. And that's why mindfulness and compassion is called a practice. It's not somewhere to go, but it's always coming back to be with what is arising for us at this moment and what are we experiencing at this moment. Because we can't experience what we had experienced in the past, and we can't experience what we are going to experience in the future. So the only experience that is real and that is right here is what we are experiencing right now, and how do I relate to what I am experiencing right now.
Mm.
And if I feel that struggle, yes, compassion could be a tool. You really come back in, take the pause.
Mm.
And that brings me to a story that I would like to share.
Please, yes.
Yeah, I have a 19-year-old daughter,
Mm.
and I know she was going through a lot of stress in a high school exam last year. And this year she's in the first year of university.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as a mom, like you say, we do everything for our kids, right? We want to be the perfect mom, but sometimes what is perfect? You-
Mm.
they are perfect to me and to you and to our daughters and our children may be different, right?
Yep.
So what happened was I was cleaning the house, so I went into her room, fixed the bed, and cleaned the room. And guess what I found? I found a little gadget. It's the latest kind of a vape
Vaping.
underneath,
Mm.
vape underneath the pillow. At that moment, I was like that. I can feel the anger comes out. I can feel all the internal stories that I've been telling myself. I'm not good enough. I haven't shown a good example. Um, that what did I do? She in
Mm.
pain. She stressed. How come I don't know about it? All those kind of things. I should be there for her. And the stories goes from one story to another. Right. So I was holding that vape in my hand and I went to my room, sat at the corner of my bed, and I just paused. I don't know what to do. I was lost. So I took a
Mm.
few deep breaths and come back to ground myself with the practice. And I asked myself a question. I asked, is this going to make me love her less?
Mm.
And the answer was no. So I put back that thing and I never spoke about it. You
Mm.
know, sometimes we put a lot of barriers, a lot of conditions to love somebody. And I think with that practice, I realized and I saw that I have actually put a lot of conditions to love myself.
Mm.
So it's like I have to keep shedding the layers, unravel all the layers that don't belong. And only by learning to love myself unconditionally, to forgive myself, to accept myself the way I am, that I can know how to love others unconditionally. Yeah.
I'm so glad that you said that because I was just reading something and they were talking about it was saying I make a commitment to love myself and others unconditionally. And that led me to really reflect and contemplate, what does that mean unconditionally? What does that mean to you to love yourself and others unconditionally? Because it's almost a loaded word a little bit.
It's quite a big word, isn't it?
Yeah.
The unconditional, no, we say mother's love is unconditional, but I think there is some sort of attachment there as well because it's a kind of attachment, there's some kind of expectation, right?
Mm. Yep.
Right? Yeah, I think I grew up with that and I saw those conditions there. And then we grow up in a society that you should do this, you should do that, and this is better, or this
Yeah.
is not you, this is you, right? There's so much conditions to be who you are.
Mm.
So at
Mm.
the end of the day, you're just putting a mask, running on a long pole in a way that for me, my first question when I actually go deep to work on myself is, who am I? You know,
Mm.
who am I? Why am I here in this world? Because I totally lost my identity. I was lost. I don't know
Mm.
who I was now. Yeah. And I wasn't supposed to cry when I watched that movies because crying is not good. It's not,
Yeah.
those are the conditions that we put, but we are human, right? Crying is part of being human.
Yeah. Uh, this is such a great conversation and very timely, because, I have just had a recent situation as well, with my young adult daughter. And so I think it's because of my own perfectionism and the way that I was raised, and always felt that I had to be perfect. I was trying so hard to, on the one hand, be super compassionate and understanding. And I am, I totally have empathy for what she's going through. She's having a struggle with school and grades and stuff like that. And a bunch of things, a bunch of patterns and behaviors that I can identify with. And I have total empathy and compassion. And then there's this other part of me that says and feels like, oh, there's another part of me that wants to fix. There's a part of me that wants to fix it and make it go away because her pain, her struggle is making me very uncomfortable. Does that
Mhm.
make sense? So I want to like make it go away. So then it comes out, the way that that manifests is, well, you need to do it this way. You need to do that. You need to do this. This is how you, like, I'm trying to control the outcome. Whereas I think what I heard, one thing that I heard you say is, or that I'm taking away from what you said, is that what she just really needs is for me to just love bomb her. Like just love, 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 because I know she's already struggling. And why am I going to point the second arrow
Mhm.
at her? She's already struggling and suffering with all that is going on. And so by me pointing out or calling out what she needs to do differently is just that pressure that you and I talked about in the beginning about, that's how the perfection mask is birthed. That's how it's created.
Yeah, and I also learned about the intergenerational trauma. So I think we
Mm.
go through that in
Yeah.
ourselves. And when I work on myself, I realized and I saw what my mom was going through. And
Mm.
it does pass on in a way because our body keeps the score.
Yes, the body does keep the score.
And I see that in myself, and I'm seeing that a little bit in my daughter, right?
Mm. For
So
sure.
sure, yeah, and I know what you mean, Kim. At one point, I was trying to fix because now that I know so much, and I'm trying to protect her so she don't go through what I went through.
Yep.
So yeah, yeah,
Totally.
it is habitual, right? And because we want to be the perfect mom, but I do sometimes come to realize that just being present with them, love her for who she is the best gift. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you don't have to have reasons to love somebody, right? Sometimes love is blind,
So
right?
it so is. It so is. And I think also what also helps with this is your quote, is that true transformation is not one without pain, but one who sees through it. So I
Yeah.
think, if for my daughter, even and for me, to have true transformation, that it's not without pain. We have to have the pain. It's just seeing through it.
Yeah.
Would you
And
agree that I have like a good understanding of that quote?
Yes, Kim, perfect. It is true that we can't run away from pain, and the more we resist, the more it comes back. So we really have to look into the pain and ask, what does this pain want from me?
Yeah.
But what am I going to do? Like, how should I relate and how should I respond to that pain? And that takes practice, that takes time and patience. But most importantly is your willingness to transform, to change, to make things better. Yeah.
I totally agree. Oh my goodness. This has been, first of all, I always believe in divine timing and, synchronicity. I'm like, I so just needed this today. I needed to have this conversation with you today. It was so helpful. So, what I normally do as I'm ending a podcast is just to ask 5 questions. They're kind of like rapid fire questions. So there's no need to be nervous. You'll do totally fine. So the first question is, what for you, and it may be the one we've already talked about, but what is the most prominent mask that you wear?
I think for me it's perfection. Yeah.
The perfection
We,
mask. Yeah, me too. If you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go?
that's a tough question. If you would ask me this 10 years ago, I would think of places that I can be with myself. But now that you ask me at this moment where I am now, I feel that it doesn't matter where we go. Home is you.
You know what? I understand that, and I feel that too. I agree with you. So if I do travel anywhere, it's just like icing on the cake, but it doesn't matter. It's I can go anywhere, just be right here and I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm at home. Absolutely. What is your favorite way to take care of yourself?
Hmm. Favorite way to take care of myself is I really try to find time to be with myself. Sometimes just listen to the body, what it feels. Sometimes when I know I have things to do, the mind is telling you, the perfection mind is telling you you have to do something, you have to complete something, but the body is telling you, no, I want to sleep.
Mm,
I'm tired, or I just want to lie down and watch some movies or do
mm.
some baking, and yeah, always do things to the body. The body keeps us calm, and the body has so much wisdom that we can learn from,
I
right?
know.
Yeah,
So true. It's a matter of we listen to that body, right? The body will tell us. We just don't always listen.
yeah, yeah.
I
Mm.
understand. If you had a bucket list, what would be the number one thing on your bucket list?
Ah, I always wanted to go to the mountains one day when the kids grow up and to have my time. Um, yeah, to be in silence
Ah,
meditation and just being with myself and
yeah,
yeah, do that. And that is something that I still want to do when the kids grow up. Yeah, and that
absolutely.
at the back of my mind. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's a good one. And then the last question is, name one book that has changed your life.
One book that has
I know
changed
that could be hard to
my
name just one.
that's quite hard. Lately, I have been reading this book, You Belong.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Who's that
Yes.
by?
Um,
If you remember, if not, it's fine.
Sabini Selassie. It's one of my mentor in the training.
Oh,
I think
okay.
if you don't mind me, just grab the book. It's just right in front of me because I'm reading it.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, you belong.
You
A
belong.
call for connections. Lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. Very
Really
good.
in my life, but it's a very good book that I would recommend.
Excellent. Yes, excellent. Thank you for sharing that. And you know what? Thank you so much for this conversation. Honestly, it has just been very much what I needed and beautiful. It was just such a great connection. I love Tara Brock's energy. She's just very calming and very soothing, very present. And I know that you study under her, and I know and I feel that same energy from you. It's just I feel you're so present, and I just feel so relaxed just being with you. So I just wanted to share that with you. And how can the listeners get in touch with you or find you if they wanted to?
They can always email me at
Okay.
aineecha.lifecoaching@gmail.com
Okay.
or find me on Facebook, Ainee Cha. Find me on Instagram. I do have a YouTube channel as well. It's just Ainee Cha. So yeah, you can always find me.
Awesome. Well, and I will have all of that in the show notes as well. So people can go back and find that and check into that. And are there any opportunities or anything that you want to offer to the listeners?
Yes, I think we spoke about that thing.
Yes.
I currently doing an 8-week program with most of my clients, and this 8 weeks program, I'm thinking of giving some discount in a way,
Excellent.
yeah, for people who listen to your podcast. So yeah.
Perfect. So
Mhm.
we'll put that in the show notes too. And that maybe they can indicate masks off, that if they're reaching out to you, put masks off, and then you'll know
Yes,
that they listen to this
yes,
podcast.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
perfect. Awesome. So I will get all of that together and put that together. But I wanted to thank you so much for being here today. It was just such a great conversation.
No, I want to thank you for having me too. It's just great to get to know people from the other side of the world. And thanks to technology,
Yes.
yes, yeah, it's a bit of a healing for me today as well when I spoke about that. And then
Mm,
that stuff into the practice again, then I'm reassuring myself and I've been triggered even to talk about it. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree. So, oh my goodness. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, everybody, for listening to another episode of Masks Off. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.